Welcome back. You still watching Sunday Express. Like I had told you, we'll be talking about coping with exam results, the expectations, the outcome, and the future. Ngatia is a counseling psychologist who joins us on set to handle this matter. Thank you very much, Jane, for joining us tonight.
Thank you for inviting me.
You know, let's begin with a conversation around managing the emotions of expectations not met. Before we talk about those who achieved what they wanted. But there are those who set for this exam with expectations in mind and yet they did not achieve them. Question is, how do they manage feelings at this point?
That's a very good question. But even before I respond, allow me to congratulate every candidate who did exams, and the national exams for that matter. And some met the pass mark, others were below the pass mark, and so on and so forth. Now, that causes a lot of anxiety. And probably one thing you need to remember is that exams anxiety starts even before the exam comes, long before. And that is very important to remember. And then once the candidate is done, they are waiting for results. That's now a different level of anxiety. So it is very important that we are talking about it because it needs to be managed. The candidate, the parent, the guardian, and the friends of the child, everyone is waiting. And actually, everybody is very, very anxious. But it is important that when results come, especially for those who didn't meet the pass mark, they need to be congratulated. That should be the first thing. Well done. At least you did the exams. At least you went through the school system, leave alone even the exams. But we find it difficult to do so. Yet that is exactly what we should be able to do, so that the child does not feel, you know, it actually affects the child's self-esteem. And that is probably the worst, knowing that self-esteem is a driving agent of every person, including that child who did the examinations. So they need to be congratulated for having finished school in the first place. Exams is a different level. And by the way, the reason why I'm insisting that the child needs to be congratulated is because the exam alone, the exam results, do not define this child. And that is very important to remember by every parent. Maybe the parent is looking at the investment they have made, the money they have put in this child. But that notwithstanding, we need to appreciate the child. And the child needs to be encouraged even to look forward to another option. By the way, because the exam should not be, the results should not be a dead end. And
we'll talk about what lies ahead, probably if they did meet their expectations. But I'm just wondering, for that child who sat through the 4 years in secondary school, hoping to perform well in the context of how Kenyans define, you know, passing. Is a congratulations enough to deal with the disappointment in their hearts that they didn't achieve what they wanted to achieve?
That may not be the end, but it is just a beginning. The first impact, you know, the first impression is that the child failed. We don't have failures. We have a child who probably didn't meet the pass mark, as it was said. But if that bar was dropped a little, that child is still very useful. So the child needs to be allowed also at the same time to talk about what they feel. Definitely anxiety has to be let out. You know, it's like there is some air in there. It needs to get an outlet. And talking, which we call talk therapy in counseling psychology, is very important because the child will be able to talk. They'll be able to express themselves. They'll even be able to talk about their disappointment. And the greatest fear of this child is even what that will cause to the parents. What will it cause the parent fear? Who has put so much money.
In fact, I want us to talk about that because much of it, sometimes we focus on the student. And it's also good because they're the people who are involved directly. But there's also a parent who has invested money all throughout, was expecting a different result, probably based on how the child was performing over these 4 years. But then again, the grade is not per expectation. Question is, how does that parent now move on to the stage of, I need to congratulate my son or daughter so that they can take up another option other than what I had encompassed in my mind.
Oh, yes. And the reason why we are talking about it, thank God for this national TV, because a lot of people are going to benefit from this brief conversation. Yes, the parent need to bring themselves to a level. You know, I am the one who invested. For instance, if I had a child who did that exam, I invested. And this is not the first time I have invested and I didn't get results. I mean, a parent has seen their days, and they know that, it can be a 50-50. We may reap, we may not. Even from very natural, things that we do. We plant, we may reap, we may not reap that year. So it should be seen the same way. That this child, and by the way, because it's only a kind of bar that was placed somewhere, that the child, we expect they have a pass mark when they raise these kind of marks for themselves. But if they don't, then it means there must be another bar for that child. So for the parent needs to bring themselves to that level. Slow down. I would tell my parents, we have children, slow down. Just don't say anything. And that not saying something at around that time, except telling the child, thank you, at least you finished school, you did the exam, you got some marks. Not that they didn't get anything. And even if they didn't, still they remain an important child. And now we are talking about even the integrity of that child. Because exam results, the way we look at them is probably what causes the bigger problem. Because we think this is the final blow. This is what defines me, which is not a good perspective of looking at things. So parents, slow down. Encourage your child. Congratulate them for what they have achieved so far. They have actually achieved other things other than academic.
And probably even done better than you did.
Oh, yes. By the way.
Let's talk, and I'm still focused on the emotional well-being of this candidate who did not get the results they were expecting. And the silver bullet lies in staying motivated. But that's also the quagmire of how do I stay motivated despite the results that came from this examination.
We talk about encouragement. Everyone who feel like they have failed, and that's what the child is feeling, needs to be encouraged. And the first person who needs to encourage the child not to give up, but to look forward to something else. There must be another option. That's not a dead end in itself. So the first person to encourage is a parent. Use kind words. Because sometimes a parent may get worked up, for instance, if I use myself as an example. Oh, I've put so much money. I took you to such an expensive school. I've been visiting. All that has gone to waste. I thought you'd join this or the other, kind of institution. And that in itself will only sink a sinking boat. It will sink further. And that is not good for the child. So what I'm appealing for is for the guardian of the child, for the parent of the child, to be able to compose themselves. Because at the end of the day, it is still the parent who will take the next step to guide this child, assuming that this child is only getting to a certain level. And after that level, there must be another level they will go. Who will guide them? The same parent. Even those joining university, it's the same parent, it's the same guardian. So we ask for composure. And we ask the parent not to be so cruel. Use words that encourage, words that build character, words that you build capacity. And just by telling a child, for instance, JJ, yes, I know you didn't get the pass mark. You were aiming for an A or a B or whatever grade. You didn't get it. But I trust you. I believe in you. And I know you are going places. Those are very simple words. But they build that child. They build that, person. And they feel they can also believe in themselves. A lot of things that people do, and they cave in, and they kind of put themselves in a cage, lock the door of the cage, and they can't get out. It's because of what people told them. What people tell us is very important, whatever the circumstances. So I think it is still possible for a child to fail exams, manage that anxiety, because anxiety levels go high. And by the way, anxiety comes with the anger, comes with the heart, comes with disappointment and self-blame and guilt. There is so much around that anxiety. And if that is not managed well, that child could give up altogether. They could give up in life. Actually, some children have even attempted to terminate their own life because it's like, I'm done. My world has collapsed. And that is not fair. They need to live on. They need to be encouraged to, after all, someone can repeat an exam. I mean, it's not a matter of life and death. JJ, we have to live on, whatever the case. And we want our children to go places.
I want us to move this conversation forward, because much of what we've spoken about students who did not perform to their expectations. But there are those who even performed to their expectation or even superseded that. But with the society and the release of exams comes the pressure to succeed. How do you manage this pressure on your shoulders, that based on this impressive results or based on whatever you got, you must become, as successful as somebody else? You must become successful as your brother-in-law or your brother. How do you manage that pressure of succeeding?
Or even another child in the neighborhood.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm glad you have brought it up, JJ. That is very important. Whether we meet the pass mark or whether we go below the pass mark, whichever way, anxiety will be there. There will be some kind of anxiety. What next? And what if I go to the next level? Let's take, for example, university. I don't get the degree that I want to do. I'm not admitted for it. Or I don't even complete university, because that's another level of academic, kind of achievement, or the child is attempting to get there. They have never been there. Probably the parent knows something. And that's why I insist. So there'll be anxiety. But that child still needs to be encouraged. We shall be with you up to the next level. Even the next level, you are going to make it. So whether they made it, let them be encouraged. You'll make it. And it doesn't have to go the same direction. We don't all have to follow the same road. Some of us may follow a longer route than others, but we shall get there. Yes, we'll make it in life and we shall excel.
Absolutely.
So that word encouragement, I would like parents to use it with another score. Or just highlight it. It is a very important word. Whichever way, everyone needs their hand held.
Jane, tell us, for those ones that, okay, they had expectations, really, because everybody goes to an exam with an expectation. Some already probably left by the time they were leaving the exam room. They knew they had failed the exam. But the question is, with this result, particularly for those who didn't perform or achieve the C+ mark, because I understand that's the entry point for university, is it the end of the road?
Definitely no. This life has so many options. And it is important for us to sober up. I'm using the word sober up in quotes, just to settle first, let the dust settle. When the results just come out. In about 3 months from now, JJ, we shall not be talking about those results. There must be something else we shall be talking about. Something will hit the headlines, just like this, media. There will be news, and we cannot see it on the same spot. So we need to be able to think there is another option. There is another road that we can pass. For instance, even going to university, one may get a direct ticket, depending on their pass mark. And that is also important to the candidates and to the parents to understand. But one can also follow another road, go to another level, which will still lead them to the university. What matters is, I went where I wanted to go. I was determined and I achieved what I wanted. The duration it takes should not worry anyone. What should concern us? What do I want? What is my career path? Which is now another level. So it is important for us never to give ourselves a verdict. Whatever we do, particularly in academics, it cannot be the only way. And it is important for our society, particularly in Kenya, not to see like that A, that B is what defines the person. Definitely no. We can still succeed, we can still get where we wanted to go, but let's find out which is the other route. It could be very thick, a thick forest, but somehow there'll be a way and it will take us there. Yeah.
Do you feel, and thank God probably we are done with the 844 system, although the ones in Form 2 must do their KCSE, I think about 3 years from now. But do you feel like this desire to succeed, this cutthroat competition around examinations, like they place an unfair burden on the person doing the exam?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
We don't need education that is exam-centered. The kind of education that helps. Because education is not just about exams. It is also to help us to do what we are doing right now. I mean, so it is not just about passing and getting to that career. We all cannot go to the same career. So any reasonable education system, and I think Kenya, we are getting there. We just need maybe to refine a few things here and there. It is one that is person-centered. What can this person do best? Yes, they didn't get straight on to university, but is there something they can do to build capacity, first for themselves and then for the society? What contribution can they make? And I think that's where now the government of Kenya, I think it's well done. The TVET institutions, for instance, helping that person who was filtered and never met hit the mark, can still go through that system. And by the way, can one day even get to as many degrees that they want and hit even other deadlines that were never there. So it is good for us to keep up and emphasize on person-centered kind of education. That's what will move us forward.
I want to ask this, and of course this doesn't seem to, it is not supposed to discourage anybody who is pursuing an academic path.
Yeah.
But is academic excellence all there is to life?
Of course no. Oh, sorry, to even say of course no. I think it's just an impact.
Yes.
It's just a response on impact.
Yes.
Academic excellence is good.
It is
education helps us even to know how to fix that dinner in a better way.
Yes.
But it shouldn't be used to define the person in totality. It cannot be, because a person has much more to offer than just reading. Literacy is good, but definitely it would be wrong and very wrong to use academic excellence to define a person. Yes, children go to school, they should be encouraged. Parents, do your thing, get the deal done, but let us not put too much emphasis such that the person is behind. And that's why we should never use words. I'm saying never use a word like a failure. You are a failure. Parents may be pushed to that level, calling their own children failures. We don't have failures in life. We don't have useless people. You know, when we get angry, we are tempted to say that. It is not fair to that child, because that child has much more. And no human being is defined by any other standard other than, first of all, they are human beings.
All right.
And everything else is added advantage.
As we wind up, Jane, this is the transition period, obviously, for all of them, actually. And much of what we've spoken to is for a parent or a guardian who was disappointed by the result of the child that was doing this exam. But question is, what is the role of parents and guardians in this transition period, be it for a child who failed in the sense of it, like the way the Kenyan society defines failing in terms of these examinations, and the one who has even passed, or the person who actually was averagely there, didn't perform well, didn't perform too bad? What is the role of a parent or a guardian in this transition period as they exit towards other things to do in life?
That's a very good question. Yes, each of the parents with a child who met the pass mark or didn't has a very important role to play, because the question should be, what next? Yes, you've got the grades. You passed your material for university, straight on. You have a direct ticket. But then, where do we begin? The next thing should be, what is your passion in terms of career? Parents, guardians, please guide your children, but do not push them to do what probably you missed. The tendency is, I would have wanted to be a health practitioner, like I wanted to be a doctor, by the way, for real. But I didn't hit the mark.
You ended up somewhere.
I'm one of those. But all the same, what are you good at? What do you want to, what is your passion? What career do you want to do? And then we can expose them. Role modeling is always very important. The guardian can expose that child that they have, who has made it, expose them to as many, even to JJ here. What does it take to do journalism, to do whatever it takes to be in this? If that is their passion, they need to be guided. They could even be referred for guidance, career guidance and counseling. It helps quite a lot. Why I'm saying that, JJ, one time I met a child who had got a straight A, excellent performance. Up to the standards we are talking about. But then this child was so confused and actually was depressed, not just anxious. Listen, they are not now sure of what they need to do. They qualify to do medicine, human medicine, they qualify to do law, they qualify to do, they can do anything of their choice and they'll be admitted to do. But then they are lost somewhere in the middle because the options, again, are too many. So we try to narrow them down, and that is the work of the guardian, the work of the parent, to guide that person and possibly expose them to role models, a talk here and there, guidance and counseling in career, and they'll be sorted. Right. But the other one, we have not forgotten, JJ. Yes. I know the pressure of time. Yes. The one who didn't perform also needs to be lifted. What is it you'd like to do? The same question. By the way, it's the same thing. So what is your passion? What would you love to do? So when I missed medicine, I was asked by my parents, so what next? I said, I can go in for teaching, and I did. And then later I discovered, wow, I can even be a good psychologist. And I jumped into it. And look at where we are, JJ. Yeah. Yes.
If you were born where I was born, they would have recommended a local polytechnic there. In 30 seconds, Jane, on that camera, speak to parents and the candidates in 30 seconds.
Yeah, Kenyan parents, together, we are together in this. Relax. Our children will make it. They'll go places. Me too have had such a dilemma, but guide them. Don't leave them alone. We need them. We need them healthy, we need them strong, we need them in sober mind, and we can help them by encouraging, guiding them, and making sure that they get to where their desire is, and particularly their dream career. We can guide them into that. Let's build Kenya. Kenya is our country. Let's help them, let's support them, and we are heading there. And role model them, most of all. Great, well done, parents, and let's keep together. Together we can do more.
Absolutely. Jane Ngatia is a counseling psychologist. The conversation really today has been around KCSE, the expected outcome, what the outcome was, and indeed what the future looks like. And thank you, Jane, for your insight. We appreciate your presence always.
Thank you.
Time for us now to change gears. Bernard Okumu is up next with sports news.